when you think of Maracas Bay, Trinidad's signature beach,
Yeah.
you probably picture that perfect shoreline, right? The northern range behind it, maybe bacon shark.
Absolutely. It's meant to be this national treasure, for
Ugh.
peaceful enjoyment. That's the idea.
But the sources we looked at, they paint a completely different scene.
Starkly different, yeah. Ministers themselves are calling it horrific, disorderly, even an eyesore.
An eyesore. And the Wild Wild West, that was another phrase used.
That's right. The core issue being this really aggressive vendor harassment, almost bordering on, extortion.
So for this deep dive, the big question is, how does a place like that, a prime tourism spot, get so bad? How does it turn into what officials are calling institutionalized lawlessness?
We need to figure out how basic selling turned into, what sounds like a racket.
Okay, let's break down that racket. What does it actually look like on the ground?
Well, the sources describe this pervasive, really aggressive hassling, mostly for renting chairs and umbrellas.
Hassling.
People demanding hundreds of dollars for these items. Ministers explicitly call this extortion, not just high prices, extortion.
Wow. Hundreds.
Yeah, and apparently they use these huge stockpiles of chairs and umbrellas to physically block off the best spots on the beach.
So it's not just annoying, it's actually preventing people from accessing the beach properly.
Exactly. And it gets worse. It's become a real security threat.
You mean the violence? We saw that awful video circulating online.
Mm-hmm. The man being severely beaten right there on the sand, allegedly by some of these beach chair vendors.
How does renting a chair escalate to that? What allows that level of aggression to just happen?
Well, that's the key thing. The sources link it directly to a regulatory vacuum. Ministers even mention this environment attracting young gang members.
A vacuum. So the disorder wasn't just random bad behavior.
No, it seems it's a direct result of the state pulling back oversight and not replacing it with anything. It metastasized because of that gap.
Okay, let's dig into that. The sources pinpoint specific moment, don't they? An institutional failure.
They do. It traces back to March 17th, 2020. That's when the Ministry of Tourism told UDCOT, that's the Urban Development Corporation.
Right.
They told them to just cease all revenue collection services at Maracas.
Cease. Just like that.
Yeah. And crucially, with no further direction.
So no plan for what happens next?
Apparently not. Before 2020, UDCOT was actually managing some kind of regularization process, trying to get things in order.
Okay.
But when that oversight just vanished, poof, the number of vendors selling and renting things just exploded.
Ballooned, I think was the word used.
Ballooned over the years from a few to over 20. That's the quote. Operating with absolutely zero formal control, no set prices, nothing.
So that specific decision, that lack of follow-through, basically opened the door for all this.
That seems to be the moment the groundwork was laid for the chaos and eventually the violence, the institutional failure.
And is this just a Maracas problem, or are we seeing this kind of neglect elsewhere?
No, it's definitely not isolated. The sources explicitly draw a parallel to Tobago, Boca Reef.
Oh, right. What's happening there?
Similar story, visitors being accosted, bullied for boat tickets. And again, it's escalated to violence. We're talking men with cutlass and guns.
Cutlasses and guns. Over boat tickets.
It points to a systemic issue, doesn't it? A failure to manage basic order at these really critical tourist spots across the country.
And that failure must have wider economic consequences, surely.
Oh, absolutely. It creates this vicious cycle. Fear and a damaged reputation. That obviously drives down tourism income.
Less money coming in legitimately.
Right. But at the same time, the chaos breeds this whole other industry, a multi-million-dollar anti-crime industry, as the sources put it.
You mean like private security and things?
Exactly. Watchdogs, private guards, more fences, alarms, all stuff that costs a fortune. Resources drained from the economy just to cope with crime that maybe wouldn't be there if the regulations were handled properly in the first place.
So we end up paying to fix a problem that neglect helped create.
That's the loop. A huge economic burden.
So looking forward, what do the sources say needs to happen? What are the immediate steps?
Two main things come across really clearly. First, boots on the ground. A permanent, visible police presence.
Like a dedicated police post right there at Maracas.
Ideally, yes. Something to restore basic order right now and keep it that way.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second thing?
They have to go back and finish the job they started, or rather stopped in 2020. Urgently restart and complete that vendor regularization process.
Which means proper registration, rules.
Yes. And crucially, fixed, non-negotiable prices for rentals. Take away the tool they're using for extortion.
And is there a timeline for this?
The government is reportedly aiming to get this sorted by the first quarter of 2026. That's the stated goal anyway.
So the big takeaway here, for you, the listener, seems to be that sometimes doing nothing, creating that regulatory vacuum, can be just as damaging as active crime itself.
Yeah, it's a powerful point. State neglect opens the door, and then it forces taxpayers, forces you to essentially pay twice. Well, first in the lost tourism dollars because the place has a bad reputation, and then again to pay for all the security needed to protect yourself from the very problem the initial failure allowed to grow.